Way it goes next. The Dow very briefly crossing that 11,000 mark at the end of Friday's session and will open this morning just 3 points below. Traders attributing at least some of this recent rally to expectations for strong corporate earnings. We're going to start to find out today what those corporate earnings look like. Alcoa reporting first quarter results after the bell. Alcoa is seen as the unofficial earnings, beginning of earnings season, I should say. Other big reports due out this week include Intel, JPMorgan Chase, Google, and General Electric. So let's talk a little bit about this earnings season ahead. Adam Connors, Director of Corporate Finance at CK Cooper, is joining us on set instead of on satellite as usual.
Absolutely.
Nice to see you.
Great to see you.
In person, in the flesh. First of all, how important psychologically is that 11,000 mark?
It's very important. I mean, we were seeing a lot of trading going on last week, and it was starting to trend up, and then we started to see intraday when it finally crossed over. I think it'll be a little more sticking point depending on what we see with financial earnings coming forward, as well as with the Greek debt crisis, as you mentioned. Maybe that relieves some of that ceiling that we were seeing a little earlier.
You mentioned the financials. Which sectors do you think are going to be the winners and the losers of this earnings season?
Sure. Well, you see GE and Alcoa. I mean, those are the ones that a lot of the big conglomerates or some of the larger folks that maybe have been hampered over the last few months. But now we can see if they're starting to be the ones that are going to be coming out of this alive, maybe there's going to be an inflow of money going back to those good old favorites.
So it seems, is that boring?
Absolutely.
I mean, those are like, the Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, General Electric, but those are still what you look at as the bright spot for this earnings.
Absolutely. I mean, Jenna, if you think about it, look at these companies here that have been kind of hindered. They've been lost throughout the minutia of everything, and they've been hampered quite heavily. And so here's a chance now to take a look at some of these companies again and say, wow, you know what, this makes a lot of sense, and it looks like they're going to be coming out of this alive.
You own any of these companies, Alcoa, General Electric, JPMorgan?
GE is actually something my family and I own both, and I enjoy them tremendously because I think it's a good foothold within the markets, and just recently picked up some more shares of them because I think it's going to be something that comes around.
Well, about Alcoa and kind of starting this whole thing off, do they just mean as much as they always did when it comes to earnings season? Do you think investors really put a lot of stock, figuratively speaking, of course, in Alcoa and the way that they either meet or miss on their earnings?
I think this is going to be a rather tepid time. I mean, what can you really expect when you're seeing a lot of subjective type analysis that are coming out of this? I mean, here's a chance for us to look at this company and say, reevaluate everything about it and say, okay, looks like from their fundamentals, they're going to be the ones that will be able to take advantage of coming out of this alive. And so I think that's where we're now looking at things instead of, well, did they need or be by a penny?
Where are you willing to take some risk?
As far as in what capacity?
In the capacity of looking at the earnings ahead of earnings, not knowing some of the numbers. Where are you putting your money to work that may not be some of the big names like a General Electric, for example?
Sure. Well, quite frankly, I'm not even looking at any of those companies because what I focus on is I love energy right now, and I still love energy. As you saw, it was a play with oil keep going up. Gold was trading up higher last week, probably because of all the trepidation with the Greek crisis. And so commodities are inflation hedge risk that you can take with strong commodities such as oil and gold. And so I still love energy. I'm still focusing on it.
All right, let's talk more about that in just a little bit when we're going to talk about the Greek crisis and what it means for our markets. In the meantime, thank you very much for coming in.